That's right. We're going to continue to follow the hearings. But as far as BP's future in America's energy landscape is debated and concerned, the oil industry veteran we're about to hear from says the company is worth more alive than dead. He is David Pursell, a petroleum industry engineer and a managing director at Tudor, Pickering Holt Company, a Houston-based investment bank. David joins us now from Houston with more. Welcome to Bloomberg News. Good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is the starting point here the letter that Congressman Henry Waxman sent to the BP head, Mr. Hayward? Is that a good place to start? And did it put out a proper chronology, a proper timeline for the events leading up to this?
Yeah, it certainly did. It's a very well done compilation of all of the information that's been generated up to this point, both from public hearings and from committee members going through emails and having conversations with BP and oil service company employees. And it paints a fairly negative picture of the BP processes leading up to the explosion.
What stood out for you?
Well, there were a number of things, and I think in general the big picture was there was clearly a rush to get the well done, and it wasn't just one person pushing to get done quickly. It seemed like that was the general sense across the BP email train was let's get off this, let's get done. Most of the procedures were done in the sense of let's do it quicker and cheaper, because this rig costs about $1 million a day to operate. And really what that leads you to is the lack of best practices, whether you're talking about casing design or cementing or post-cement evaluation. Simple things like locking down the casing string. It's clear that best practices were not used. So, David,
do best practices have to come through regulation? Because clearly, in this case at least, the industry didn't do it for itself.
Yeah, and I think hopefully that's what the MMS is ultimately there for, to make sure that best practices are employed. You do have a government agency kind of looking over your shoulder, and that's a blind spot here clearly, was that maybe the MMS should have said, hey, wait a minute, let's rethink this, or what about doing these, what about the best practices? Maybe this could have been avoided. It's ultimately BP's fault. I'm not pointing fingers at the MMS, but ultimately they need to play a stronger role.
David, what does this mean for America's energy policy going forward, specifically what President Obama is going to have to tell the nation in his address tonight?
Well, I think what it shows is it's hard to grow oil production, and it's really hard to grow oil production domestically. One option would be, let's focus on cleaner burning natural gas that's onshore in some of the prolific shale plays that have been discovered and developed.
Well, but we've had some explosions recently at various natural gas areas across the U.S. and Pennsylvania, and there in Texas also.
We've had a couple things that have been heightened by the BP experience. A couple of them were just construction workers digging into pipelines. One was a well control incident in Pennsylvania, but I will highlight that because it's onshore, those were able to be controlled very, very quickly, and hasn't taken weeks and months to fix the problem.
David, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time. David Pursell talking to us about the BP.